Welcome back to Politics Nation, live tonight from the great city of Philadelphia. Any Democrats out there who are freaking out, hear my voice. Ready? Stop the freak out. We have brand new NBC polls released just moments ago. They show the president with a big lead in two critical swing states. In Iowa, President Obama leads Mitt Romney by 8 points, 51% to 43%, an 8-point lead. That margin is exactly the same as it was last month before the debates. And the new poll shows that in Wisconsin, President Obama leads Romney by 6 points, 51% to 45%. That margin is also virtually unchanged from last month. These polls show the fundamentals of this race are the same as they were a month ago. At its core, this race is really about fairness in this country. What's the most fair way to continue to fix the economy? Today, Democrats hammered that point home with some of their biggest stars, the president and vice president, Bruce Springsteen and former President Clinton. All were on the trail today making the case for a more fair and more just America.
In 19 days, you can choose to turn back the clock 50 years for immigrants or gays or women, or you can stand up and say we are going to move forward.
That's all the people in your neighborhood want. They're not asking for anything. They just want a fair shot, a level playing field. Shared prosperity and a middle-class economy where poor people have a decent chance to work their way into it is just better economics than trickle down and winner take all.
A nation can be measured by its compassion for its weakest citizens. We take care of their own, wherever this flag's flown. We take care of their own.
That was Springsteen singing one of his newest songs, We Take Care of Our Own. It's a good message for the country and for this election. Joining me now is Richard Wolff, Vice President and Executive Editor of MSNBC.com and an MSNBC political analyst. Also joining me, Alicia Menendez, host and producer for HuffPost Live. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you, Rev.
Thanks, Reverend.
Alicia, let's get back to these new polls for a moment. Big leads in key swing states. Will this help stop the Democratic freak out?
I think that compounded with President Obama's performance at the debate should. You remember back when the campaign laid out those 5 paths to victory? One of those paths went through Ohio and Iowa. So those numbers really critical coming out of Iowa. We also know that the Romney campaign is pulling their operation out of North Carolina. Another path to victory was North Carolina. We know that now that they're leaving North Carolina and Virginia, the race is razor tight. So there are a variety of paths that the president's campaign can take to re-election. Great news for Democrats.
Richard, it seems that not only are we dealing with a lot of celebrities out there, but they're giving real content and substance. President Clinton was in Ohio today telling voters that President Obama saved the auto industry and their economy. Listen.
When you were down, you were out, and your whole economy was threatened, the president had your back. You got to have his back now. This is not complicated for me. If somebody saved my economy, I'd be for it.
Now, I might add, Richard, that the former President Clinton made these comments in Palmer, Ohio, where the #1 employee of that city is General Motors. So right. To have celebrity and substance, quite a combination.
Right, and we've talked about this before. Ohio's economy has been doing better than the national economy as a whole. And we're at a point here both in economic terms and political terms, where you've got big regional differences that just happen to be in some of these big battleground states. So when people talk about the overarching economic numbers or the overarching national poll numbers, they're not seeing the important picture here. And in some ways, that's a good thing, right? If people think that it's a close race, you get people out, they feel the heat of the decision. But the national numbers are being driven. You know, if Mitt Romney does really great in Utah, it doesn't make the blind bit of difference to the actual place that this election is going to be decided. And the same goes for those economic numbers. Nationally, you got all sorts of variations. But if it's better than average in Ohio, the president's in a better state.
Now, Alicia, let's go to Ohio for a minute. When you look at the effect of the auto bailout in Ohio, because you mentioned how important Ohio was, 1 in 8 jobs tied to the auto industry in Ohio. The auto bailout was 155,000 jobs saved in Ohio alone. It seems that as we push the numbers and we do deal with substance, the president has a real case there if people just looked at the substance of the auto bailout alone in Ohio.
Right, because there's a very sharp contrast between the president, save the auto industry, and Mitt Romney, who criticized the president for the bailout at the time. So you're absolutely right. It's a sharp contrast point before these two campaigns. And Mitt Romney can try to demagogue on China and frighten workers by going back to that over and over again in the debate. I'm sure we'll see that again coming up in the foreign policy debate. But it doesn't change the reality that he was on the wrong side of this issue.
Now, Richard, you also have to deal with the larger picture in Ohio. Unemployment dropping from 10.6% in 2009 to 7.2% today, which is lower than even the national unemployment number. And Vice President Biden was out talking about how Governor Romney's economic plan would shift jobs overseas. Listen to this.
Whatever country you want to pick, go build your factory there. Hire cheap labor the Bain way. That will create 800,000 jobs, all of them abroad. All of them. Remember when Romney said in the convention speech, the first thing I'm going to do is take a jobs tour? Well, for him, it's going to have to be a foreign trip.
Quite a contrast. President arguing jobs he created in Ohio, in the country. Vice President saying Romney would shift jobs overseas.
Well, that is the problem of Mitt Romney saying, trust me, I've got the experience, I know how to do this. What he has experience in is how to make the best of his money. And that's what capital and venture capital does. They're not interested in creating jobs in this country. They're interested in getting the maximum return of the money. And you can't fault him. That's what capitalism is. And it's just a very hard pivot for him to say, I've done this myself and I can do it for the American people, because he was never trying to do it for the American people. Just on that Ohio number, by the way, a lot of conservatives say, oh, this isn't the Reagan model, right? Reagan took unemployment down from 10% down to 7%, and it was the pace of decline that people noticed. Yeah, but in Ohio, that's what we're seeing with this president. It's taken a bit longer. It's taken 3 years instead of maybe 1 year or 18 months. But that decline is precisely why the president's in such a stronger position in Ohio than we see in other battleground states.
Alicia, I need to also bring this up before we run out of time. The youth vote. President Obama is ahead significantly. President Obama, 55%. Mitt Romney to only 36%. These are voters 18 to 29 years old. I had a birthday a couple weeks ago, so I just missed it.
This is my last election where I get to be counted in that demo, so I'll take it. You know, I think we see that there's tremendous support for President Obama. The real question becomes about actually getting those voters to the polling place. And in places like Ohio, the alarming part is that some of the new voter ID laws that are in place are going to make it more challenging for students to vote. I think the Obama campaign has a good operation on the ground. They're being sure to register people, making sure that they're going to have proper GOTV effort. But at the end of the day, that vote is going to come down to the resources that are put into it and how well the campaign mobilizes those voters.
Richard Wolff, Alicia Menendez, thank you both for your time tonight.
Thanks, Reverend.